Hi, my name is Autumn Hutchins,
My name is Jessica Anderson.
and we did our Pscyh241 presentation on cognitive development. We chose this topic because cognitive development focuses on how people think, learn, and understand the world as they grow.
Cognitive development is a key part of overall human development since it explains how our mental abilities like memory, problem solving, language, and reasoning change from infancy and adulthood.
So, what is cognitive development? Cognitive development is the growth of thinking, problem solving, memory, and decision making throughout the lifespan. Its importance is that it helps explain how humans learn, reason, and adapt to their environment.
Factors influencing cognitive development from birth to adolescence. Biological factors like genetics can affect intelligence and growth. Proper nutrition, which supports learning, health issues that can slow development. Educational factors include early education, advances skills, supportive parents strengthens learning, and supportive teachers encourage curiosity. Cultural factors include shapes learning and communication and technology.
Helps us find resources to learn. Environmental factors such as learning spaces, access to resources, substance exposure to brain. Social factors include peer interaction, it improves problem solving, stress harms focus and memory. And secure attachment builds confidence. Our major theorist is Jean Piaget. Who is Jean Piaget? Jean Piaget was a Swiss psychologist who developed the theory of cognitive development, proposing that children actively construct their understanding of the world through stages. Piaget was born August 9, 1896 and died September 16, 1980 at the age of 84 years old. Jean Piaget's theory suggests children progress through 4 stages of learning, actively building the understanding of the world. His 4 stages was sensory motor, which is ages birth to 2 years old, and then pre-operational stage, which is 2 to 7 years old, concrete operational stage, which is 7 to 11 years old, and formal operational stage, which is 12 years and up. The first stage in Piaget's theory is the sensory motor stage, 0 to 2 years old. It focuses mainly on learning through senses and motor actions. The first is sensory and motor exploration, which is like sight, touch, sound, which is sensory, grasping and crawling, which is motor. Object permanence is understanding that objects, people, and events, and it continues to exist even when they aren't like directly visible. Cause and effects, it begins understanding that their actions can cause specific outcomes. For example, pressing a button makes a sound. Another one is development of schemes, which is repeated experiences, which infants will build a basic mental scheme that helps them understand and predict the world. Emergence of symbolic thoughts is like words, gestures, or objects, which is mental representation and engaging in pretend play. The pre-operational stage is Piaget's 3rd stage of development. It is ages from 2 to 7 years old. It focuses more on like symbolic. So symbolic thinking, such as symbols such as words and images to represent objects and ideas, such as pretend play and development of language. Ego, such as children struggle with understanding perspectives other than their own. They assume others think, see, and feel the same way they do. Animism may believe intimate objects such as toys have feelings or intentions, such like as we do. Lack of conservation, children don't understand that quality remains the same despite changes in shape or appearance. Lack of reversibility is the struggle to understand that actions can be reversed.
Concrete operational stage, which is from 7 to 11 years old, is about logical thinking. In this stage, children begin to think logically with real concrete situations. They start using rules and reasoning to solve their issues. They begin to know that quantity stays the same even if its appearance changes. They start to recognize others' perspectives and not just their own. They grasp the concept of time and numbers more accurately. Formal operational stage, which is from 12 years old and up, is about abstract thinking and the Metacognition is when they begin thinking more about themselves, such as their own thinking. And they may discuss how they learn,
their reflection of mistakes, or adjust their approach to tasks.
thinking abstractly like justice, freedom, or hypothetical situations. Logical reasoning, which is solving problems using logic or draw conclusions and opinions. Planning and problem solving uses more systematic approach instead of just guessing. Consideration of different perspectives, which is a reflection of different points of view, and understanding complex social and moral issues. Education and learning, applying Pscyh241's theory in education. With hands-on learning, Pscyh241 believed that children learn best through active engagement with their environment. An example of this is instead of just hearing about shapes, a child manipulates blocks to understand how blocks fit together. For stage-appropriate teaching, teachers should match lessons to students' developmental stage. An example of this is young children in the concrete operational stage learn better with tangible examples rather than abstract ideas. Encouraging curiosity, Pscyh241 emphasizes that children are active explorers who learn by asking questions. An example of this could be teachers can nurture curiosity by creating lessons that let them discover answers on their own.
Promoting peer learning, Pscyh241 recognized the value of social interaction in cognitive growth. An example would be like when students discuss reasoning to peers, it gives them an ability to learn and see other perspectives. For encouraging independent thinking, education should help students think for themselves. For example, teachers could ask open-ended questions. And learning through play, play helps children make sense of the world and practice cognitive skills in a low-pressure environment. For example, pretend play lets them experiment with roles and ideas supporting symbolic thinking. This was a big part of Pscyh241's theory. In this slide, we're discussing how concrete strategies and implications on like what we can do to support and help Pscyh241's theory.
We can encourage hands-on learning by using blocks or measuring cups for real examples. We can let the children explore and count materials to understand ideas. We can do step-by-step instructions, which provides clear instructions for tasks, and we can break down big concepts into smaller concepts for better understanding. For real-life situations, we can connect lessons to daily life, such as cooking or playing sports, and we can help children see logic outside of the classroom.
For group work, we can encourage sharing ideas and reasonings. It builds social perspectives and understanding. Encouraging problem solving, such as like puzzles, logic games, and problem solving games builds reasoning, planning, and analytical thinking skills. And for memory development, we can practice recall by telling stories and categorizing. This reinforces organization and connects logic to ideas. Real life situations can include when a child learns to tie their shoes. At first, they rely on an adult demonstration and step-by-step guidance. Over time, they internalize the process and can do it independently. This small example shows how cognitive development involves both learning and independence, as well as memory and problem solving. Other examples could include, like with Pscyh241's first stage of development, which is learning object permanence. It's like in the stage of early cognitive development. At first, if you had a toy under a blanket, the baby thinks that it's gone. But later on, when they grow older, through I think it's 9 and 12 months, they realize the toy will still exist even if they can't see it. As well as learning through play is when preschoolers may play house or they'll pretend to be superheroes. This kind of play helps a child understand roles, reactions, and emotions within cognitive development. School learning and problem solving. In elementary school, children begin solving math problems using logical thinking. A child learns 3 plus 4 equals 7, then realizes 7 minus 3 still equals 4. That shows the ability of reversibility, which is in Pscyh241's stage of development.
During the teen years, you think more abstractly. Like, for an example, a 15-year-old might start questioning ideas like politics or form their own opinions. This shows how they can think beyond what they can see or experience directly. And this is something younger kids cannot do. With today's technology, educational apps and games can support cognitive development if they are used correctly. Puzzles or memory games can help children strengthen problem-solving skills.
Language development through interaction. A toddler who hears adults talking often pick up words quicker. When parents read aloud, like books or just like really anything, or have conversations with their child, they're helping develop language skills. For example, when a mother is talking to a baby or a toddler, they're going to start picking up those words a lot more easier at a young age. And cognitive development does not end at a child's age. Adults continue to develop new skills such as learning a new language, going through college, and different aspects in the real world.
With modern applications, with today's research on cognitive development, it continues to influence education, parenting, and even the design of technology. An example of this would be on how to understand how memory and attention works in a child's mind. This helps children be more creative, and it also is more effective for educational apps as well as teaching lessons. Psychologists have studied how early experiences such as play and language exposure can shape the brain development later in life. So you don't just stop learning stuff and gaining skills when you're younger. Throughout life, you experience things and you will start to develop new skills.
Saying, and in our previous slide, we discussed how cognitive development doesn't end at childhood, which many people do think that cognitive development stops when we become adults, but that's not true. While the most rapid changes do happen in our childhood, our thinking, reasoning, and problem-solving abilities continue to grow and nurture our brains, keeping developing new connections. In that case, for example, in adolescence, the brain's perform cortex, the part of the responsibility for decision-making, planning, and impulse control. It is still developing. This explains why teenagers often begin to think more abstractly and form their own opinions, but still struggle with judgment or emotional regulation. In adulthood, cognitive development continues in different ways. Young adults expand their critical thinking and decision-making skills as they take on independence, such as managing money, working, or even raising a family. Adults also refine their ability to see multiple perspectives and make more balanced judgments. Reflections on a child's mind. Cognitive development that happens gradually as children start to grow and learn is a steady process that begins at birth through adolescence. Pscyh241 showed that kids are active learners who build their knowledge through daily life activities and interactions. Their growth is influenced by the natural development and environment they grow up in. By understanding these stages, parents and society can better support children's curiosity and learning.